We are here for another version of Mobile Reasoning. As you can see, I am elated that I get to sit down beside this powerhouse of a woman. Her name is Kerrie Thombs, but we're going to get into who she is in a different way than has ever been done before. Kiki, how are you, my dear?
How am I? I'm okay. In this moment, I'm okay.
Yeah?
Yes, in this
I
moment.
love it because this moment includes me. So
Yes.
that means
In this
someone
moment,
good.
I'm good. Yes.
Someone good. All right,
Yeah.
excellent. Tell me a little bit about just Kiki, the person, and then we're going to get into Kerrie.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say Kiki doesn't exist.
Okay,
Oh yeah, I
tell
mean
me.
Kiki, it's just like an alias that, is just easy to remember. You know what I mean? If you're in the media space in particular, you want something that's catchy, that's, well, for me, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And ironically, I've just used this moniker for a while, but Kerrie is
Kerrie is
yeah,
you.
Kerrie is me. And they're not much different. I just think that Kiki just makes that persona just makes a little bit of an effort when she has to go on camera to put herself together properly. And Kerrie will walk out, not necessarily kept, you know what I mean? Like so Kerrie will come downstairs in like a big jeans and a big t-shirt and
Right.
say, yo, wagwan,
Right.
So I think that's the only difference is just knowing the time and space. And so the Kiki persona, quote unquote, kind of just knows that difference. But Kerrie is who it is, really.
Kerrie is who it is, and
Yeah.
Kerrie is who we want to get to know
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
You're a mother of how many?
I'm a mother of 4 boys.
4 boys.
Yeah, 4 boys.
She did it right. I know I'm going to catch some flack for that, but she
No,
did it right.
I love boys. I mean, nothing against girls, but for me, my personality and with everything that I think I've gone through, I actually prayed. I was 19 when I was pregnant with my first son, and my prayer was, please let it be a boy, because I just didn't think I would have had the emotional wherewithal to raise a girl. And I think there's a lot of pressure gender to gender. So a girl in a household of a man and a woman will fall in love with her daddy, but subconsciously mimic her mom, And it's the same thing for boys. They'll be in this house and they will adore mommy, but daddy's who they're subconsciously watching to mimic, gender to gender. And I didn't want to mess up her life.
Got it.
Legit, I just didn't want to have a girl because I felt that I would have messed up her life. And I think even now having my boys are so much more forgiving, so every child will reflect where you are at that particular point in your life. So I learned a lot. Curveball was thrown at me in many ways with my second son, who would have technically been my first. And so, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes with him, but I was able to get to the point of being completely honest, you know what I mean, with him, and take responsibility for those flaws that I would have had, because a child shows you who you are. You can't escape it. Your child will always reflect to you who you are and who you are being in that given moment. So I was happy to have my boys because my son was very forgiving, and I was able to learn and grow. And then I ended up with another boy, who made me more in control of, not in control, but just more ready, to be his mother. And then I got blessed with a fourth son, and so now he's the wash belly, and I now understand the full wash belly meaning, and it just means that I'm now allowing him to show me who he is instead of trying to groom him to be what I think he should be. Yeah.
These boys that you've sent out into society, I know they're not out in society really,
Yeah.
but you're preparing them to be out in society. What is your game plan and what is your action for when they're dealing with women?
I think first and foremost, they all have different personalities, which you have to be very aware of. So it's not just like a blanket statement per se. So like for one son, I might want to tell him that he has to you have to raise him with as much confidence as possible, so he won't end up relying on a woman too much to carry his emotional burdens, because he has to be able to get in control of his emotions, understand what those emotions are, understand what he's feeling, and not expect a woman to run in and save him from his own emotions. My other son, I'd want to say to him, hey baby, as much as you need to give your all to your partner, you also need to reserve some for yourself, because he will give and give and give and give. And sometimes you have a tendency in a relationship, when you're the giver, you might end up with a taker who might not understand the balance, you know. Kyra is still young. Kyra is the baby. I don't know what I tell Kyra, because he's a whole trip unto himself. And I never had the opportunity of raising my first son. So I don't know exactly what I would say to him outside of love your partner as much as you love yourself. And so my first message to him would be, do you love yourself? You know, and what that looks like, means, what that reflects, you know. But the underlying message for all of them is responsibility. Yeah.
Okay.
Man supposed to can take care of themselves, them supposed to can clean, cook, whatever, and have no hang-ups about doing stuff for a woman, you know, because some people still think that things are like a little taboo, you know what I mean? Like if I'm on my monthly and I'm not feeling well, I should be free to ask my husband, can you pick this up if you're going to the supermarket? And he shouldn't have a problem with it. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get them away from the quirks of what society might think. You know, I don't want my boys uncomfortable going into the store or the pharmacy to buy a pack of condoms when they're of the age to, you know, engage in sex. Be responsible and know how to use it, and you take responsibility, you know, as well as I said, if your girlfriend ever needs her, I just get them.
That's right.
Yeah.
One thing that I've a constant with you is the partnership you have with your husband. And you know, people look to you guys and say, boy, that's really almost the ideal couple. Talk about that a little bit. Talk about your partnership with Denver.
Well, first of all, I think that's torture for me, knowing that people look up to us, you know, so to speak. What I can say is, what I think people see is a friendship, and that I protect wholeheartedly. Is the fact that whether we are together or not, our friendship will always be protected, because that's how we started. And he, for me, is just like such a great human being, you know. So friendship was key. In the relationship, however, it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and it's been a struggle of trying to figure out how to communicate, how one person moves, you know. So how do you support somebody? How do you, you know, it's like so many elements. And as you grow, when you come to a certain level of awareness, you realize that your partner is going to reflect your brokenness to you. Just like how you pour into your children, and your children are going to show you exactly who you are, your partner oftentimes is going to reflect who you are as well. Because if I'm vibrating on a low level, there's no way I can attract a high level partner, because a high level partner will not partner with me. Yeah. So your partner oftentimes is going to show you those broken pieces that you also need to, you know, address, and hopefully you can grow together in that relationship. But it has not been easy at all. It's been a lot of tears. It's been a lot of, you know, heartache, a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding. My husband, surprisingly, and people might not realize this, is very passive aggressive. So my husband is a type, and I think a lot of men are passive aggressive, you know. It's a case where you say, oh, I don't have time for this, you know. Me not like argue, is what men say. But then when you're passive aggressive, you kind of leave issues unresolved, and then they kind of fester, you know. And then you have someone like me who is used to a certain level of confrontation, a certain level of resolve. Let's get to the end of it, the bottom of it, you know. And it's the coming together of two completely different entities who have baggage from their past that they have to deal with. So I think right now we're at a point where, again, we're just trying to figure out how to continue complementing each other on the journey as we grow, and especially from a family, you know, perspective. But as far as people admiring, I think what they admire is the fact that we keep fighting. We keep fighting for each other. We keep fighting, not even for each other, but just for the marriage, the relationship to work. But with everything that happens when you're on the go, you know, trying to make it in the role of mother, in the role of father, in the role of, you know, quote unquote, meet entrepreneur and everything, all of these things can get in the way of the marriage. And so before you know it, you were like two peas in a pod 1 minute, and then the next minute, you know, you're on both ends of the spectrum, you know. But I'm relentless in my pursuit to be the best version of myself, and therefore I'm just hoping that along the way that will be enough to sustain our growth, you know, because I have to learn who he is, where he is at any given moment. And yeah, I think for me, I just want to learn how to not fight.
Let's talk about your journey for self-awareness
Yeah.
and your journey to have people understand their potential
Yes.
and who they are interest.
Intrinsically.
Thank you. That one they hurt.
Yeah, intrinsically.
Tell me about that, because that is a wonderful focus, especially reading your book and understanding who you are. Because I have the pleasure of knowing you directly. But tell me about that. Tell me about that journey.
All right, so that journey for me started at a very young age. I think, and most persons, who would have followed my story, know about my background, which is I got arrested at the age of 19, had my first child when I was in jail, and then just before I came home, my dad died in a car accident. So it's been a journey for me. But I remembered the moment I ended up arrested was a reality check for me, a serious reality check, which was okay. Yeah, so my mother always used to tell me, say your consequences, yeah, the actions have consequences. I think this is what she meant. I believe I'm at that point to now start paying attention to everything my mother was ever trying to tell me, and then I think by the time I found out I was pregnant, that was a whole new level, because I was like, whoa, I'm now responsible for somebody else's life. Like, this is insane. And so it broke me. It broke me in many ways, and I literally just had to start the journey from there, But it's one thing to want to start the journey, but a different thing to go through the journey, because the journey looks so different for so many people, but there's some intrinsic truths that never change, which is the journey to self-awareness is painful. It's almost devastating at times, because you have to relive the pain of what you went through, but now you're reliving it from a space of not just victim mindset, but an awareness of how you might have contributed, or you have to now face the reality that someone did something to you because of their brokenness, and you have to release that and forgive, and when you start going through the layers and the layers, it's a lot of work. And for me, what kills me, and then at the same time makes me just understand that this part of the process, is the layers. Because you could think that you have dealt with a situation before, and something happens in your life, and the way you react, the way you process it, the way you think about it, the narrative you give into it, makes you more aware. Some else is there that you have to fix, and so now you have to go dig again, just to keep fleshing out. But I've just come to the point of understanding that life is literally what you make it. You know what I mean? Your thoughts do play a big part in the results of your life. And if it is that you have gone through trauma, or you're suffering from emotions that you can't understand, it's okay to get help. It's okay to get help, because I believe we're all here for a purpose. And no matter what you've gone through, you know what I mean? No matter how horrible it is what you've gone through, you cannot allow the past to define your future. Like, it's just, it can't happen. How in the world can you be broken as a person and do something to me that hurts me so badly that I'm going to continue perpetuating it mentally years after it's happened, while you're busy living your life? And now I'm void of living my full potential because I'm stuck mentally in the past of something that you did to me years ago. Like, we have to master release. We really have to master release.
How do you apply that, though? Because it's one thing to study. We can study all the ways, but how is that implemented for the viewers who they're stuck?
Yeah.
How do you apply that methodology?
It's going to be hard just to explain it like that.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
But
But like, for me, my personal journey started a lot with pen to paper. Pen to paper, and allowing myself to just vent in the ways that I need to. Also just writing down every bad thing, in my mind, how I perceived it as bad. Everything that would have happened, and then all the lessons that I would have learned, and just trying to make sense of it, but make sense of it not from a victim mindset. Because I think once you try to make sense of your past or what's happened to you from a victim mindset, you're doomed. You're going to just continue on the same cycle like a hamster on a wheel. But there's a certain level, as I said, of forgiveness, understanding, compassion, and self-love that has to be introduced into the equation, you know, in order for you to grow. But what it looks like, what the process looks like for me personally is waking up, for example, or not being able to sleep and just feeling down, like just feeling despair. You know, like no matter what quote unquote good might be happening, you know, people always say find your blessings and count the blessings and wake up and attack every day and so it don't happen. Not for this cat. This cat experience is different. You understand? Because I've been almost subconsciously trained to always look for the negative, like fight or flight. You know, I'm always in fight mode. You know, even sometimes I'll be talking and I realize that my hands are doing this. I'm literally, I exist in fight mode. You know, so for me, the journey is having to talk myself through it, because my voice is the loudest and my voice is the most powerful. So it's understanding that these emotions that you might have don't make you any less. They don't, you know, it's nothing to be afraid of, ashamed of, or embarrassed about. It is what it is. It is this way for a reason, and you just have to be aware enough and want it bad enough that you're able to take yourself through the journey.
Yeah, I like the way you put that, because it is all about applying. It's all about it, because like I was saying, it is something we can study, we can read about, but until we actually go through the journey,
when you apply it,
yeah, when you apply it and actually do it, that's when you see the results, and that's with anything that we're doing.
Anything. And one thing I want to say is life is so simple. Like it's a simple life, but we're complex beings, you know. And you hear it all the time. They'll tell you you have to exercise, you have to eat right, you have to, you know, meditate, you have to be around nature, you know, you have to laugh, you know, self-love. We hear it, and people might not realize that these things are really true. Your diet, your sleep pattern, how much water you drink, you know what I mean, how much you exercise, how much you laugh, you know, how much you give of yourself, how much you serve. Like all these things are different facets of life. So anyone who's able to master those usually, and it's not that life not going to be throwing you curveballs, because that's what life is. Life is like a cycle, you know what I mean? It's up and it's down. But when you're in a particular zone, you're able to approach life differently. And so as the saying goes, life is literally 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it.
I like that. There's a series on Netflix about my junior college team, basketball team. And there are these individuals that are, you know, street youths and whatever, but they bring them in to say, I want to give you a chance to get into the NBA. So come through this funnel and we'll see what we can do. And the coach had a saying all the time: what's your response?
Yeah.
What's your response?
What's your response?
How you respond
yeah,
to it.
It is. It is. It is.
It's important on a level that we don't really understand until we step back and look at the big picture. How we respond to what happens to us or around us is the most important part.
It is. It is. So like, no, I remember when you asked and you said, how are you? And I said, in this moment, I'm okay. The reason why I answered that is because in my personal life, I'm in another stage of growth. And as I said, growth is usually uncomfortable, you know, and I'm in a process where I want to die to self. Like that's the process I'm in. I no longer want to be who I have been trained to be, or who I've, you know, the reflection of everything. Like I legit just want to die to self, because I think in that process of me dying to self is when I'll actually start living, you know. And so, you know, we hear all the time self-love, self-love, self-love. I'm a big advocate for self-love, even before self-love became a quote-unquote buzzword, because I learned pretty early that this is key. If you're unable to say I love you to you, it's a problem. But then I'm now also realizing how many years later in the journey that if I'm here and I'm flawed and I'm busy loving self that is flawed, ain't nothing wrong with the general context of it, but I run the risk of attaching to those flaws, holding on to some form or some part of me, you know, a personality trait or something, a character trait that might be harming me more than doing good. But because it's under the blanket of self-love, gotta hold on to it, because I gotta love me, all of me. And I'm just saying, I just want to die. I just want to die to me and be able to embrace a new journey, a new way of growth, and a new way of seeing life.
There's a concept about the universe bending to your needs. If you push hard enough, the universe has to give way. It's something I teach when I go out and I do my public speaking, and I want to hear your take on that statement. If you push hard enough, the universe has to give you your way.
It will. It will rise up and meet you and give you your need. Yeah. It's just the how that people usually have a, ask like, how is the universe going to do that? What do you do? So I ask you, what do you do to have that happen?
I create the opportunity for the universe to do its work
Okay.
and accept it as raw as it comes.
Okay.
Because I asked for it.
Yeah.
And if I asked for it, I must be prepared to receive
To receive it. There you go.
Right?
There you
So
go.
that's how I
Yeah.
handle my thing.
Yeah.
But I want to know how you handle your
It's
thing.
similar. It's my challenge is on the receiving end. Yeah. So I'll ask and the universe starts showing up and I'm like, what? You're actually answering, wait.
True.
because like, when you're so used to hearing no,
Yeah.
and parents, please be careful how many times you tell your children no.
True.
It's so easy for us to do it. No, I don't have it. No, I don't have it. Which part am I to get it from? No, I can't. No, and parents are sometimes just so busy, in the grind, the 9 to 5 grind and stuff, and it's so easy to say no. But no without an explanation to a child's mind who is full of possibilities, who knows no boundaries, who is limitless. The more you say no, is the more you start training that child's mind to limit itself from receiving or from even exploring or from understanding the endless possibilities that exist,
That is an important thing to
yeah,
say.
so for me, hearing no so much, when the universe starts, when I ask, I'm like, oh God, please. And then I wait, with bated breath. And if it means a lot to me, I might release it, But when the universe shows up, I'm like, yo, oh my God, like it really happened. And so I have to be careful not to sabotage.
That's it.
Because when the universe
Absolutely.
starts showing up, because of how magnificent it is, when you start receiving, I just want to run. I just want to run and hide and say, oh my God, I can't do this, But I had a really powerful conversation with a girlfriend of mine the other day, and she was, we were just having a conversation about dying to self, just how scary that whole process is when you make a conscious decision that you're legit, you just want to die to self, because the universe is going to start doing it. It's going to start that shedding process, and it's emotionally a lot, And I just remembered her saying, stand firm though as you're going through the process, because you can't hide. So usually, if I'm feeling how I'm feeling now, I wouldn't have done this interview. And I said, Charlie, I love you, but can you wait until I'm feeling a little bit more cohesive, But I remember her saying to me, show up, because that's what the universe expects, is for you to show up and to commit, because it's not about you. Because something that you might say or share might be able to help someone else. So it's really, in this context of life, never about you. You know what I mean? So even a while ago upstairs, I said to you, and I putting on a little, makeup, and I was like, oh God, like I really have to do this. Like the makeup aspect of like, I just can't go barefaced, And then again, you realize as well that it's not about you, because it's how people perceive you, So you have to show up. So here I am showing up.
And we're happy that you did.
Thank you.
Because we're getting a great reasoning. This is really something that is going to be able to be the fertilizer for other people's situations, for them to grow in.
Yeah.
So I give thanks for that. I really do. And I just give thanks for who you are as a woman. No, sorry. Let me pull that back. I give thanks for who you are as a person.
Thank you.
Right? Because all of that other stuff comes after the fact that you were born in the first place.
Yeah.
So we give thanks for that, Kerrie.
Yay.
The way that you empower people, the new Kerrie drive is about building people. Do you have a preference when it comes to your audience as to the type of people you want to build? Male, female, depressed, whatever. Do you have a preference?
First and foremost, it's an amazing thing. Women are the passion for me. And women are the passion because we create communities. You know what I mean? So we are the backbone is what I believe, you know, because again of that nurturing element in us. I love men because I have my boys, you know, and I realize how much of a raw deal men get sometimes just by being the stronger gender, like physically stronger and stuff. And you know, just this thought process that because we are quote unquote the weaker gender physically, you have to assume a protective nature around us. And once you assume the role of being protector, oftentimes there's no one there to protect you, you know. And so I think it's important for men to have a safe haven as well. And men and women communicate differently, you know. So like I've worked with men before, and it's a completely different experience than when I work with women. However, I am spiritually hearing that I'm supposed to be working with teenagers. And that for me is intimidating. That for me is intimidating because I'm like, I don't know teens. And then it sounds so stupid saying that because I have a child who's 14. But teenagers are like intimidating because they're so grown.
Right.
You know, but I could understand why teens would be my demographic because that's the perfect age to start tapping in to a teenager, to help a teenager blossom and bloom, you know, into being the best versions of themselves. So to answer that, I know that I deal a lot naturally, and this is not something that I've done. I started doing it after I saw the persons who were attracted to me, or how I help. But the persons who were coming to me had trauma. Like they've gone through the ringer. They know what it's like to live in pain, you know. And everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. But there's a certain type of person who comes to me, and it's that type of person who is able to smile and still love and still give and still have a certain sense of humility and still be open to healing. Those are the persons that I get. And so I love the persons that I get. You know, it's rare that I might find someone who really isn't willing to change, but just saying it, you know, like the persons who will come to me, the queens, I call them queens and kings, who come to me are willing and open. So, yeah.
Interesting. So that the viewers will know, is there a way that people can get in contact with you? Whether social media? I know you're not a
I'm
social
working
media
all
person.
through it right now. I really I've made a commitment, especially based on that conversation that I told you I had with a friend of mine, that I'm going to become more present, more consistent, you know, in my messaging and how I help. So persons can reach out to me. It's KIKI, and I know you'll put it up somewhere on the screen.
Somewhere around there.
It's kikithombs at Yahoo. Feel free to send me an email. On Instagram right now, I'm kikithombs, and then I'll provide the contact, you know, later on once everything is established. But right now, I literally am putting all the pieces together.
Beautiful.
To launch out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, ma'am, thank you very much for sitting with us.
Thank you.
I know I am blessed from this conversation because it's not often we get to see you from this point of view.
Yeah, and I know, and I'm going to say it, that persons, I remember my aunt telling me one day, lad, you're not tired of the fact say they lock up, you're not tired of the interview them, like, and I know some persons might say, God, get over it, you know, but the thing is, you have to understand the context of how media works. People will reach out to you because of whatever story they want to tell, and you just fit into that story. I think it's rare, and it's only now becoming more acceptable and a popular trend to allow people to be them authentic selves, or to be their authentic selves in the context of an interview, because literally the media kind of want you to have it all together, and that's how it's been, you know what I mean, for years. So at the end of it, all those interviews would have served their purpose, you know, but there's so much more. And you know, even when you said a while ago, you know, when I'm, you know, like going out and presenting and stuff, my style is authenticity. Like, so even that in itself has me trying to figure out how to make this thing, because I know how people are trained to people talking on stage and being, and that's not necessarily who I am. So I'm entering a whole new phase of my life, moving forward as a speaker, as a DJ, because I'm going to be doing that a little bit more as well.
Well, I love that part, you know.
Yeah, so I'm going to be that speaker who plays her music, you know, so I'm the DJ. So I'm going to steal Denver's tagline of giving power talks, musical power talks.
Nice.
So I'm going to start giving musical power talks. Sorry, honey, I had to. We won, right? But yeah, so I think for me, the next journey is just authenticity. How I'm going to bring that message across to persons when I speak, because I know you speak as well as in my space and whatever I'm doing. So
I just want you to know that as you see Kiki here or Kerrie here, she's a boss DJ. And when I said DJ, I'm talking about scratch and mix and everything that you can see her husband Denvo do. Not everything. Not everything. Not everything. But the concepts of everything that he does is in this wonderful woman here, right? So whenever you get a chance to hear her do a show, take the chance, take the time, and go listen.
And of course, you know, now he said that, now I'm nervous, right? Like,
right.
legit nervous.
But let her be nervous. You're gonna enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
She mix and do her thing crazy. Anyway, no, but I give thanks. I give thanks. I like the real you.
Thank you.
And I celebrate the real you.
Thank you.
So cool. All right, so that has been another version of Mobile Reasoning. And we are so happy that you spend time with us. Do us a favor and like and comment and share and subscribe button and all those wonderful things. Most important thing, share this with your friends, because everybody can learn from this type of reasoning. Until such time.
Thank you for checking us out on Good News Jamaica TV for content that informs, inspires, and transforms. Please like, share, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more positive Jamaica content. Walk good,